There is a person who became the first and only trillionaire in human history. That person is Elon Musk. Also, as soon as SpaceX went public, the company's value skyrocketed. Elon Musk's assets quickly surpassed 1,594 trillion won in an instant. Today, let's take a closer look at this topic. Let's get right into it. Before that, if you want to get the fastest international news updates in Korea, please hit the subscribe button. On June 11th and 12th, SpaceX was listed on the NASDAQ. At one point during the session, it even surged up to 30.4% thanks to SpaceX's successful debut on the stock market. Elon Musk has become the world's first trillionaire, with assets exceeding $1 trillion. As of June 2026, according to Forbes, he now has assets worth $1.1 trillion, which is 1,714 trillion won in Korean currency. This difference is over 1,256 trillion, one more than Larry Page, Google's founder, who ranks second among the world's richest people. There's also a 1,650 trillion won gap compared to Lee Jae-yong, Samsung's chairman and Korea's richest. Spending 10 billion won daily would still take 342 years to use all the money. Elon Musk couldn't spend all his wealth in his lifetime, even if he tried. And since Elon Musk's wealth is so enormous, now we have to compare it to entire countries. Elon Musk has more money than the GDP of Taiwan, Ireland, Sweden, and Singapore. His wealth is about the same as Switzerland's GDP. North Korea's annual budget is estimated to be about 15 trillion won, but compared to Elon Musk's personal wealth, that's a difference of 114 times. Isn't that incredible? The decisive reason why Elon Musk was able to secure so much wealth this time is widely seen as the successful listing of SpaceX. SpaceX's market value topped $2 trillion, moving it to 6th place behind Nvidia, Alphabet, Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. In particular, the valuation of SpaceX's shares accounts for 70% of Elon Musk's net assets. Of course, the real significance of SpaceX is not about how much its corporate value has increased. What is more important is that it has completely changed the current structure of the space industry itself. Previously, only nations could pursue space development due to the huge budgets, advanced technology, and decades of research and development required. Countries such as the United States, Russia, and China have led the space race, while private companies have mainly supported them. However, SpaceX completely turned that model on its head. They proved that private companies can also have space development capabilities on par with nations, and now even Europe and various national agencies rely on SpaceX's technology. SpaceX's top achievement is commercializing reusable rocket technology. In the past, it was common for rockets to crash into the sea or land after launch. Since a new rocket had to be built for every launch, the costs were inevitably very high. However, SpaceX succeeded in putting into practice the technology of landing rockets after launch and reusing them. Despite experiencing numerous failures and explosions, they did not give up on development, and as a result, they succeeded in drastically lowering the cost of space launches. This technology has now become a new standard that space companies around the world must follow. In addition, SpaceX is also setting record numbers of launches. Rocket launches used to be national events, but now they occur almost as often as airline flights. As the frequency of launches increased, the speed of satellite deployment also accelerated, and the overall growth rate of the space industry has also risen significantly. Private companies, universities, and research institutions can now access space at much lower costs, rapidly creating new markets. In addition, SpaceX is playing a key role in NASA's ongoing Artemis project. The United States is working on a plan to send humans back to the moon and, in the long term, build a lunar base. SpaceX's Starship is expected to serve as the lunar lander for this project. This means that SpaceX has become a key pillar of America's space strategy, going beyond just being a private company. In fact, many experts believe that SpaceX is highly likely to play a central role in future Mars exploration as well. Currently, the company's value can be seen as a result of expectations for future growth potential and leadership in the space industry. When talking about Elon Musk, we can't just focus on his tremendous success. Musk is not only an innovative entrepreneur, but also one of the most controversial figures in the world. In fact, he actively uses his enormous wealth and influence in politics and society, and he is known for directly voicing his opinions on political, social, and cultural issues. Unlike most business people who try to avoid political controversy, Musk often publicly expresses his opinions and stands at the center of debates. This was especially evident during the 2024 US presidential election. Musk openly supported Donald Trump and actively spread political messages through his social media platform, X. After this, Musk was seen as highly influential in American politics, not just as an entrepreneur. A single entrepreneur's comments now impact financial markets, politics, media, and voters. Musk's actions are frequently discussed in international Japanese media. One example is Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In 2022, while the war was ongoing, Musk publicly posted on his social media challenging President Vladimir Putin to a duel. He publicly mentioned that he wanted to wager Ukraine as the prize and have a one-on-one match with Putin. In other words, he challenged President Putin to a fight. There was never a real chance it would happen, and it didn't, but the CEO of the world's largest private space company proposing it to a wartime leader attracted global media attention. Also, Musk has often shaken up the market with his unpredictable remarks and actions. His single comments about cryptocurrency have repeatedly caused prices to soar or plummet, and several of his social media posts have influenced countless investors' decisions. For these reasons, many people consider Musk an innovator, but there are also concerns that he is a figure with too much influence. What's interesting is that Musk himself doesn't seem to be very burdened by this controversy. He easily accepts being the center of attention and sometimes introduces controversial topics himself, demonstrating his ability to shift public opinion. That's why many experts see Musk not just as an entrepreneur, but as a global force with political and social influence. Musk today has become someone who is difficult to describe simply as the CEO of an electric car company or the founder of a space company. When talking about Elon Musk, many people tend to focus only on his wealth. However, Elon Musk's most important goal is different, making humanity a multi-planetary species living on several planets, not just Earth. Musk has long argued it's dangerous for civilization to rely on a single planet. He has insisted on this because unexpected events like large-scale natural disasters, wars, or asteroid impacts could put all of humanity at risk. That's why he sees creating new settlements outside of Earth as a long-term survival strategy for humanity. Of course, many people have said things like, how is that even possible? But what's interesting is that whenever Elon Musk heard such concerns, he was the kind of person who proved them wrong, so it's not something we can just assume is impossible. At the center of the Mars colonization project is Starship. Starship is the next-generation massive spacecraft currently being developed by SpaceX, designed to transport humans to the Moon and Mars. Specifically, it is designed to transport more cargo and crew than current spacecraft, aiming for a fully reusable system. Musk has said he wants thousands of starships to regularly travel between Earth and Mars in the future. What is even more noteworthy is that Musk is not talking about Mars exploration, but about Mars settlement. He argues that instead of just building some research bases on Mars, we should eventually create a self-sustaining city for millions of people. We must build residential facilities, power plants, food production sites, and industrial infrastructure to achieve this. In other words, the goal is not just to send people there, but to create a new society. With today's technology, we still face many challenges. Mars is very cold, has a thin atmosphere, and is exposed to strong cosmic radiation. Also, since the distance between Earth and Mars can vary by tens of millions of kilometers depending on their positions, a stable logistics system is also necessary. Nevertheless, Musk continues to invest massive amounts of money into the development of Starship, and the capital secured through the SpaceX IPO is also likely to be used to further accelerate these long-term projects. Many think building a city on Mars is a distant dream, but Musk has already achieved what was once thought impossible in rocket technology and the satellite internet market. That's why discussions about when the Mars colonization plan could actually be realized are becoming increasingly active in the current space industry. At the very least, I think we might see people living on Mars and the Moon before we die. The enormous capital that Musk has secured not only symbolizes his wealth, but is also drawing more attention because it serves as the financial foundation for pushing forward the largest space project in human history.